off any extension of this space that we care to. I think it's just creating an environment that's supportive of those ideas and interaction points. Talk about subtopias or a portal to a VR experience that spawns the app du jour to join in a more immersive experience. It's all kinds of interesting avenues for connecting folks there.
Super meta, so many layers.
So many realities.
Yeah.
I'm excited about the iframe. You know, that can lead to a lot of cool opportunity, you know, and I did a virtual tea festival last weekend, or maybe 2 weekends ago. I didn't do it. Someone else did it, but I was like supporting her. She had supported mine, and I supported her. She's in Australia. And she used a platform called Hopin. Have you heard of that one?
Yep.
Yeah, there was just so much technical difficulty and issues with it. So, but then yesterday I saw a demo for Yardstream. Seems that they've been
heard of that.
Yeah, they've been upgrading their capabilities of is basically like OBS and Restream, you know, packaged together in a very you know, Shopify kind of a way where it's all plug and play, easy, you know, editing, creating content easily. I think it's exciting. It's cool. It's like all these tools are evolving, and even the most, you know, untech savvy person can create some cool immersive experience. It's cool. It's great.
Yeah, I'm a little terrified of this notion, but the way that RPAN desktop works is it's a totally separate OBS client, right? It's open source, so they like Reddit made an OBS for RPAN. Okay. But I did, because I was checking my settings, I did have the other OBS, the normal OBS open. So theoretically, we could have a vertical and a horizontal stream from 2 different OBSs to both RPAN and to Restream, which would go out to 5 or whatever others. Whether or not browsers and bandwidth could support that would be interesting, but yeah, I like this because like I'm paying attention to 2 things right now: us and this conversation, and chat. That's it. That's what I love about Restream is that I don't use Facebook. I don't like Facebook. I'm so close to deleting my account, and solely it's just like having a page to broadcast to like make space for people to escape Facebook. I feel like if I delete Facebook, then I delete the opportunity for people to leave it. But yeah, like I like having a central space, and Restream is super great for that.
Yeah. But yeah, the Yardstream has that same ability. And it even has cool plugins where you can, you know, select different chats to come up as like a pop-up bubble, you know, in the stream, which is cool. You know, OBS, you can do that kind of stuff, but it's very manual. You know, you have to set everything up and you know, produce it yourself.
Oh, wow.
And it's cheaper too. So it's I think like $25 a month or $30 a month. And it's basically Zoom and Restream and OBS all together. I know OBS is free, but if you think about your Zoom fees and your Restream fees, it's cheaper, you know, and it's one place. So I was like, oh, that's interesting. But, yeah.
Someone, I think a friend of mine started working for a streaming company. It might have been Yardstream. To remember his name though. And
there we go. I tracked that thought down for a little while on one of my last gigs. When the other guys left to Rooster Teeth.
Rooster Teeth?
Yeah. Streaming, gaming, current, alt nerd culture. Were pretty big in the scene. I'm not really articulating it super well, so I'm not really in. But I know he did technology over there for a while, which I'm always super excited about the tech of scaling like a zeitgeist or a industry or a trend or a culture or what have you. So I think they were pretty early in the evolution of like the streaming media companies. I don't know. I'm actually curious to look at their story now.
No, close. You ever forget someone's name and you like can picture them and you know all these context about them, but you just can't quite get there?
You know, I was talking to a friend last night, and I don't think she intended to say it, but she ended up saying something about, you know, like podcasts. And she's like, oh, I can listen to that. Or I was saying something and she wanted to know more about it. And I said, oh, you know, I talked about this in a live before. I can give you the link. You can just listen to that. And she's like, oh, I'll listen to that. I want to listen to it, but I want it to be live. And she just said that. And I'm like, that's interesting. I feel like the current times has changed the consumer to engage more with like a live conversation over a podcast conversation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's, I mean, I just figured out the audio settings on the RPN OBS and we were in held space and Tony was here to like, hey, can we test this? And then you popped in. And so like podcast, you know, like if I think at this point, like a podcast is just like an intentional conversation. What's interesting is that now because of the live aspect of it, you can actually welcome people into it. And because of these platforms that are emerging, like Twitch and RPN are very passive observer structured. But with the structure that we're doing right now, which is we're broadcasting Topia, like anyone can come in and be a part of both the conversation and the audience.
Yeah, that's what I do. But I was just using a Zoom room, but you know, I'd much rather use a platform like this, which is great. Now you can like screen share or whatever, you know, you can have an iframe and create a presentation. It's so good.
Mm-hmm.
Well, guys, I think I'm gonna go, but it was good catching up with you and
pleasure as always.
Yeah, Tony. Nice to tee you again.
Yeah, I love it. I need to refill my cup for the evening.
I hope you guys both enjoy San Diego this weekend. Lucky.
Yeah.
And I'll be seeing you around. Brian, thank you for sharing that about the RPN. I'm gonna get on that. Another place I've got to be streaming, but it's good. It's good.
Yeah, let me know how it goes for you if you end up doing dual OBS.
Yeah.
I'm curious. I know you're. Yeah. I'm curious to hear your experiences with that.
OBS and Instagram Live. I'll do it all.
Yeah. I mean, we met Tony through Reddit. Just because of a silly Reddit ad where it's like half the people were like, "This is bullshit." Not having clicked the link, and then the other half of people were like, "This is amazing," and I'm like, "Great!" Like that. What's the opposite of sensationalism when you just like bifurcation, where it's like resonant, non-resonant, and you're like either direction you choose is perfect.
Yeah.
So anyway, and let us know what we can do to help. Now we've got a lot more time, space, and like structure set up. So
cool, great, yeah.
The machines are working for us,
and I'll see you at the burn, of course, too.
Yes. Sam will be in his natural state without a shirt on.
All right, guys, have a good weekend.
Bye.
Bye. All right, that was fun. Good little catch up with Brian. All right, so today I am going to go over an article I just came across. Bitcoin, you look so regal. interesting. Got the queen here, looking so regal. I gotta take a picture of him. All right, hi. Happy Friday, everybody. Weekend coming up. So exciting. I'm making some ruby white tea today. Heavy brew. Oh, it smells so nice. That sarsaparilla menthol smell, always so nice. All right, so I found this article in a magazine called Intersectional Feminism, Desi Style. So it's an Indian feminism publication, which is incredible. And they wrote an article about tea that just published, so I wanted to address this article. I'm aware that potentially the article is biased. It's a feminism publication, so that makes sense, but there's still a lot of good data and information, so I thought we'd share that. Hi, Marco. I look forward to tomorrow, your new project, getting involved, seeing what's going on, seeing how I can help. I don't know if I can do anything, but I'll do what I can. So this article is called Revisiting Manar Strikes, a Fight for the Rights of Tea Plantation Workers. This is an article that's addressing a story from September 2015. But this article was just written today. It was just published today. And I'll go ahead and put the link for this on the chats within. Interesting. Let's get it over here. Sorry about that. It took so long. So yeah, this is from an incident that happened in 2015, so it's a few years old. Hi, tree. There was a strike, and Manar is in southern India. It's in Kerala, which is a big tea producing area. It was specifically a strike among the plantation workers of Kanan Devon Hills Plantation. And let's see, how many people were there? What they were asking for, it lasted for 9 days, and they were asking the bonus, the company was going to be reducing their bonus by 20%, but then ended up moving it to 10%. And they were just striking, no change to the bonus, as well as addressing other issues. And so this article goes into all those issues. So the reason why I'm sharing this article with you guys is because usually when people talk about workers' rights and the issues with the plantation workers, yes, we all know there's issues. Yes, we know the numbers, we know the wages, we know the resources, and we know that there is a lack of accountability of those social resources being actually shared efficiently with the workers, effectively with the workers. But this article actually goes into nitty-gritty details of what exactly is going on in the plantation. And it's all centralized around women, which, is not just a feminism thing. That's what's going on in the plantations, is that that's the places for the women is in the labor Hi, Tanya. Good to see you. Happy Friday. So there was more than 12,000 women that mobilized in this strike. 12,000. That's pretty incredible. That's pretty incredible that there was at least 12,000 women working on one plantation. Hi. The movement in its entirety was spearheaded by women workers who came from the most marginalized intersections in the tea industry. Majority of the women were non-unionized working class Tamil migrants from little or no formal education belonging to the lower caste communities. The group named itself Pombilai Orumai, which translates to Women's Unity, and went on to become a registered all-women's trade union. Oh, that's a good story. From its very genesis, it were the women workers who occupied the center as well as the backstage, from strategy making to protesting, talking to the media and the crowd, and finally representing the group during the marathon negotiations with the chief minister of Kerala and the labor minister, which ended in the reinstatement of the 20% bonus. So they got what they were asking for, which is good. That's a good story to see. I mean, that's not much. There's a need to be asking for much more, and they didn't accomplish those asks. But hi, Shiloh. The men, be it tea plantation laborers or the trade union leaders, were all merely allowed to occupy the peripheral space, both literally as well as metaphorically, throughout the movement. So, one of the quotes from one of the women was, "We couldn't feed ourselves or educate our children, so we organized." And that's how it happens, The demands and concerns raised by its leaders, like Lissi Suni and G. Gomati, were more nuanced than the simple issue of wage hike or bonus, and focused on the necessity for anti-capitalist movements to be anti-patriarchal and anti-caste. They criticized the government they criticized the plantation for extracting surplus by exploiting the labor of the tea plantation workers without paying them a fair wage, and explaining their further subordination by the virtue of their gender and caste identities in the hands of male leaders of various party-affiliated tea plantation unions. The unions were called out for being patriarchal in their functioning and structure by not prioritizing the issues raised by women and giving out all the top positions and decision-making power to men, respectively. They were also questioned for being an accomplice to the capitalist class and exploiting the laboring class by not implementing the existing welfare measures efficiently for personal gains. One of the major demands was construction of sanitary toilets, which were ignored by the union in earlier strikes. So they don't even have toilets. There was that one expose that BBC did where they went to fair trade certified plantations in Assam. And one of the fair trade premium social programs that they were supposed to have was plumbing, because they didn't have any toilets or plumbing system prior. So the Fair Trade International required the plantation to install the plumbing systems. But then by the time BBC got there and with their cameras, the workers said, yeah, they installed all of the pipes and all of the systems, but they didn't actually turn the system on for us. So there's like a lack in accountability about these social programs. So yeah, even if they tell you, yeah, we have plumbing, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's operating plumbing. The women in the movement spoke openly about the oppressive family structures that uphold power and balance in the favor of men and marital relations, which has made it socially acceptable for men to spend all the hard-earned money, including women's wages, on alcohol. Alcoholism, according to the protesting women, rendered them financially incapable to educate their children or access healthcare facilities. This highlights the feminization of all the work that is performed outside the site of productive labor, which results in doubling the burden borne by women to earn money and perform care work. So there it is. And that's something that doesn't get talked about often. It's like, why are the women the laborers? Why are they the ones working so hard? Yes, there is this kind of gender role that women have fallen into, of having the skills and the character that is good for high quality plucking. They can say that. They say, oh, they have the gentle fingers to do the good plucking. But in the case of here, it is literally because the men don't work. They're hungover, they're drunk. And so the women are they're the caretakers in the family. They're not they're not out getting drunk and being hungover. They have responsibilities, including working. So like taking care of the house and making whatever limited money they can make through the tea plantation. And I had heard this, like especially in South India, I had heard that alcoholism is a very big problem for the men in tea growing communities, not just in the plantations, but also in the communities of small growers. And so it's the women and the children that are left to do all of the work. They further elaborated on the existing gender discrimination in the tea plantation work, in which women did most of the labor-intensive work, like tea leaf plucking and carrying heavy loads, which results in various health issues among women in the long run, and were still paid lower wages than men, even after the Equal Remuneration Act that was passed in 1975. The movement, by placing the issues that women tea plantation workers faced in and outside their work together, resulted in blurring the boundaries of their domestic and professional lives, just how they exist in the realm of reality. A space for assertion of different identities became a necessity for any social structure to escape the creation of hierarchy within its cadre. The movement stands for a newly recognized collective identity, which helped these women to forge solidarities in the basis of their shared life experiences of oppression by the social structures of gender, class, caste, and region. To think of this strike only in terms of class relations would be an erasure of the novelty of the space that is carved out of collective bargaining, which is called for a more inclusive reimagination of the labor question. That's good. That's what we need to do. We need to be asking the questions from different perspectives rather than just, well, how much money do they need to make? Because that's always where the question goes, especially on the market side. Like on, the privileged population, the consumer side, we just say, well, how much money do they need to make? If 200 rupees a day is not enough, how much do they need to make? And it's like, maybe that's not the questions we need to be asking. I like that. They call for a more inclusive reimagination of the labor question. Holistic thinking. Oh, I liked this part too. I want to share some. So to challenge China's monopoly, as this is about history, understanding history to understand what's going on in this story. To challenge China's monopoly in the global tea trade, British colonizers started the first commercial tea plantation in India in Upper Assam in 1837. And now India is its second largest producer globally. Since tea could only be cultivated in certain far-off hilly areas with very less human civilization, most of the tea workers were migrants belonging to the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe who owned very less in the mainland. These workers have continued to live in deplorable conditions since the beginning. Tea cultivation is mainly dependent on manual labor, and since the colonial times, the entire families of the migrants, including children, were employed in it. Family migration ensures that the labor could be reproduced, which in turn would ease the problem of further recruitment in the future. Yeah, bring the whole family of slaves. Sustainability. That's crazy. That was a quote. What I just read was a quote from the leaders of the trade unions and women workers in tea plantation. Sarkar and Baumik. I'll have to research who they are. This also meant that one of the most efficient ways to cut production costs in order to gain profit was to pay abysmally low wages to the workers. Even though the Plantation Labor Act of 1951 makes it necessary for the employer to provide accommodation, medical, educational, and social facilities to the workers and their families, it is implementation is yet very poor. The lack of these facilities forces women to devote all of their time outside the plantation, work in childcare, fetching water, cooking, etc. These regions were mostly cut off from the spaces where major collective politics was happening. Post-independence, this isolation was somewhat lessened, which led to mass organization of the workers. So that's interesting. That's probably like the first positive consequence that I've ever heard about post-independence. And when people talk about the condition for tea farm workers, they always kind of romanticize pre-independence, like when they were colonized. You know, it was more officially a slave system, but it was a mutually respectful system where the slaves were treated very well, from what I've heard, because they knew if the workers were treated well, just like this guy said, you know, if the family was migrated together, then they could be happy, and then you have a next generation of workers, and that skill can be developed. But the criticism post-independence is that a lot of that was lost because that colonized system, slave system, was recruited or adopted by a caste system, which is even more oppressive. Sustainable slavery, exactly. In 1948, the first tea plantation workers' union, Duars Cha Bagan Workers' Unity, was formed in West Bengal, and even though the trade union movement started late in the sector, it grew rapidly. And for a brief period of time, it was also militant in nature. That's interesting. The West Bengal tea workers' strike was the support of more than 20,000 workers, where most were women, in the forefront in 1955. It's considered to be the most important initial movement in the sector for the implementation of the Bonus Act and maternity rights and others. With the liberalization of the Indian economy, there was a shift of focus from workers' rights to interest of the capitalist classes, which made it difficult for the trade unions to demand for labor-friendly policies, resulting in lost and significant bargaining power for the unions. Most of the prominent trade unions were party-affiliated, and more than often the party's agenda sidelines a holistic engagement with labor question. And the representation that these unions claim to make reduces the mere tokenism in case of most women workers. Even though women make more than half of the workforce in tea plantations and a huge chunk of their population is unionized, one rarely sees women as leaders in any of the mainstream unions. The stringent gender roles make working class women more time poor, and they can rarely take part in trade union activities which require attending meetings and other gatherings, most of which are outside the domestic boundaries. The sexist understanding that women are incapable of leading movements and holding positions of power over men prevents women from carrying on their association with the union wholeheartedly. True. That's very true. But when a woman does have the energy to just power through, like our good friend Yanku Tamang from Yankee Tea in Darjeeling, you better believe that some magic is made. I mean, that the story of Yanku and her factory and her community is totally related to this. The same gender struggles and caste struggles that is in this article is the same thing that you can find all throughout India, including Darjeeling. Maybe even especially Darjeeling, because people there, the migrant workers there, are a completely different tribe, completely different country. But someone like Yangu is just going to power through and make it happen and just cut through all the red tape, whatever colored tape is there, and just, be a powerful, fierce lion that she is. I've shared photos and videos from my time there at their factory. She has like these huge posters of like fierce lions like devouring antelope and stuff. And I asked her, I'm like, what's the purpose of that? Like, I've seen factories have, their Hindi deities, looking over. I'm like, is that what this is? And she's like, it's something like that. But, we're like lion. We're fierce like lion. I said, that's great. I need to get a big fierce lion statue out in front of my office. All right, so as most of these women are at the lower level working positions in the industry, they are rarely given respect or taken seriously. Thus, for women, it has become a never-ending loop of trauma and exploitation, a civilized slavery, as some call it. Oh, that's it. So we've got sustainable slavery and civilized slavery. In 2018, following the steps of this movement, more than 500 women workers protested against the tea estates of Harrison's Malayamla and Idukki. So where are we now? The current pandemic in 2020 has brought the worst for these workers, as most of the plantations continue with the production process even during the lockdown without implementing any safety measures for social distancing or masks. Given the knowledge that most of these workers, especially women and children, are anemic and malnourished, this can prove to be fatal. But these state-facilitated capitalist companies couldn't care less. Oh, this is the feminist journalism coming out. Due to this and non-payment of wages, the workers of Happy Valley Tea Garden and Darjeeling are on strike for something which is rightfully theirs. That's interesting. I didn't hear about that one. It's always good to learn something new. And there's a link too, so I can look it up. Oh, this workers' strike in the time of Corona, Happy Valley Tea Garden in Darjeeling. This is published July 5th, so this is current. While the virus-ravished world is seeing mass deaths and near collapse of the global economy, something has once again been proven to us. Something that we should have known and realized a lot earlier, that we humans are nothing as far as the forces of nature are concerned. This is interesting writing, okay. We should have also realized that this system of capitalist globalization is internally damaged from within. This is very interesting journalism. Oh, this is Ground Zero, Facts as Resistance. Oh, this is interesting. This, let me check the about what this publication is. What's cool, this publication is covering this story. None of the 297 workers at the Happy Valley Tea Estate have been paid for their daily wages for the last 42 days of the lockdown period. Reports are also coming in that the same state of affairs persists in other 13 tea gardens owned by Sanjay Bansal. Workers have complained against the management and Dr. Sanjay Bansal regarding the health protocol mismanagement during the entire phase of this pandemic. But till date, only one mask has been distributed per worker and no other means of facilities have been provided by the estate. A total amount of 45 to 50 lakhs from the workers' Provident Fund amount has been deposited by the owner at the PF office since 2019. Workers claim approximately 4 to 4.5 lakhs from flow funds have been used for his own purposes. This money is supposed to be used for the welfare of workers as far as the concept of fair trade is concerned. Most of the provisions under the Plantations Labor Act of 1951 and the West Bengal Plantation Labor Rules of 1956, such as raincoat umbrellas, proper hospital and health facilities, basic education, canteens, are almost non-existent in these tea gardens of North Bengal. The workers of Happy Valley Tea Garden have stopped the dispatch of final processed teas from the factory premises. The workers plan to continue with the strike until all of their dues are paid. Good for them. Good for them. This is a good article. I'm going to put this article here too. Everybody can read it if you need to. Yeah, it's pretty incredible. Yeah, pretty sad. So, how do we mobilize women? You know, and then they say, oh, well, just be the example. You know, I asked that one time. I was at a cook, it was like a foodie lecture panel discussion at a bookstore here in Vegas. They were talking about the Las Vegas restaurant scene. And there were some pretty big hitters on the panel as far as like James Beard nominated chefs and food writers. And I couldn't help but ask, you know, I think my question was, in Las Vegas's culture of Good Boys Club, of sex sells, is Las Vegas's hospitality community prepared to have the uncomfortable conversations to make the kitchen a more hospitable environment for women? There was one woman on the panel, and, you know, she probably should have been the first one to step up and say something, but no, like, of course, chef, masculine ego chef, grabbed the mic first and had to answer it. And he went on to say, self-congratulating himself for leaving toxic work environments where there was rampant sexual abuse and power dynamics or whatever. And then he says, you know, like, I see it all the time. You know, I've got strong women working for me, and it's tough for them. I'll tell you what. But you know what? They just have to have the huevos, the lady huevos, to just stand up for themselves. And I was just like, oh no. Oh, and then he said he was willing to have the uncomfortable conversation. He's like, yeah, I'm willing to have those uncomfortable conversations. So I didn't waste a second to say, okay, well, here's one of those uncomfortable conversations. That huevos comment you just made is outdated, and you should never make it again. Not good. And he didn't really have a response to that. You know, I just couldn't help. But and then the next guy grabs the mic, and his response is, oh, well, you know, I think the work you're doing, Elise, is a great example of that. You're leading the way. And I'm like, that's not doing shit. You know, like, that's building my path. That's building my story. And that's for me. Yes. But we're talking about all the women's stories. You know, this is a systemic thing. This is not just like individuals, you know. And I saw a video yesterday. This woman was talking about how to bring in can you tell the future? Someone on Twitch has asked. You know, I could tell the future, and I was going to read something else to tell the future, do some future reading, so I'll do that for you if you still stay around. XMOZHX, I don't know, Twitter. But yeah, I can tell the future. 2030. That's 10 years from now. I'll tell that future right now. But yeah, this woman was talking about how to bring. Oh, cool! You'll be here. Awesome. Good. Stick around. This woman was talking about how to bring anti-racism into the corporate world, and the main thing that I took away from what she was saying, she said a lot of things, but the main thing is that we have to like make the stories and the frameworks and the boundaries that we make for our different communities that we're trying to hold accountable. We make those, we have those discussions not in a personalized vantage point. Don't personalize these stories. So it's like by putting onto a pedestal, you know, a black woman that has like defied the odds and found success. Like, let's put her on the pedestal, and then let's talk about these stories of individualized oppression. And that's not finding the solution by having this conversation from that perspective. We have to, instead, we can hear those stories and understand those stories. But when we're having the discussion of creating the boundaries with each other, we think of it from a systemic way, right? And so that's why I hate getting that answer. And I just like want to talk not about me, like, yeah, so what, I'm a strong woman, whatever, like, that doesn't help the situation at all. Like, that could help me. And I went through so many years of my life, like my entire young professional life, I went through those experiences seeing my strength as like my unique competitive advantage. And now I see, like, I can't be so selfish. Like, the welfare of strong women, other strong women around me serves me. So, I shouldn't just be thinking of myself. I should be thinking about having a healthy system around me, not only to benefit me, because I will benefit. If there was less sexism, I would definitely benefit. I'd deal with a lot less bullshit. Not to say that bullshit really hurts me too much, but yeah, it would be nice to not have to deal with that. So yeah, I'm gonna read the future. You'll get it. I have a guy on Twitch or on Periscope. That's really. Oh no, you're on Twitch. Cool. Hey, thanks for watching from Twitch. That's good. The future of tea. All right, so this is a report, and I will also add the link for this into all the chat so you guys can see it. And I talk about this report all the time. If you are a tea professional, tea enthusiast, just a person interested in sustainability and agriculture and world affairs, like, you should read this report. It's pretty awesome. And it was written by Forum for the Future, which is a nonprofit, like, think tank type of organization that works on several different projects. And this was part of a series of the future of several different agricultural commodities. So I think coffee and chocolate and tea, like all those main commodities, they wrote this report. And the report's pretty long, and it gives all background, and it gives like the different parameters that they gauged, what the future would look like. And then they came up with 4 main scenarios and what they would look like, and saying that the future is going to be some kind of mix of those situations. So, scenario number 1, called chai time. Chai time is characterized by access to capital, but poor or fragmented global sustainability leadership. If you didn't understand what that meant, just ask me and we can go in more detail about that. But I'm just going to move on, assuming that you understand those parameters. So, access to capital, but no prioritization on sustainability. Okay, so starting from 2015, so this report was written in 2015, so we're telling a little bit of back to the future right now. It says, a survey of U.S. tea consumers finds that the increased consumption of tea in the U.S. is attributable to the use of single-serve tea capsules. Right? So tea capsules, they kind of took off. Facing increasing competition from coffee and infusions, a group of tea packers in the U.S. and Europe launched their Chai Time campaign to actively attract new and younger consumers to tea. So that's why they call it Chai Time. It was a marketing campaign, which hasn't launched yet. It should have launched yet. This is like 2017 is when that should have happened. So now we're at 2019. In India, a future market for tea is launched. Immediately, the price of tea in the country jumps 10%. A futures market. So that hasn't happened either. So there are some forecast predictions made in this report that weren't accurate. So now we're at 2021. After the success of the futures market in India, a global futures market for tea is established, mimicking those of coffee and other commodities. That makes sense, and the pandemic may actually accelerate the development of something like that on a global scale. We'll see. In 2021 alone, the chemicals used in new pesticides have killed 20 workers in tea estates worldwide. This is blamed on global drive to introduce new pesticides swiftly to combat the growing problems of pests and diseases in the tea sector. Also, kind of terrifying and not surprising, especially with pandemic and all of the additional stresses that are on the industry right now. I think chemical companies and governments will become very interested in exploring fast solutions, to to our agricultural issues instead of really thinking holistically, about how those decisions and actions can affect the future. It is estimated that 50% of the tea grown worldwide uses mechanization. So this is by 2023. That figure is closer to 75 in countries such as Sri Lanka, Vietnam, and Indonesia. Yeah, I don't think we're there. We could get there within 3 years, especially with all the labor issues coming up, or not even coming up here right now. Much easier just to develop a machine to do the job than deal with those pesky unionized laborers. The CEO of Soft Drinks Inc., whatever, it's just a generic name, declares the production of ready-to-drink teas by 3D printers is a severe threat to our industry. The CEO of Quick Drinks retaliates, saying that it's an opportunity to be embraced. All right, so 3D printed RTD. That's cool. I mean, I wonder, is that 3D? It's 3D printed of the bottles, or are they like printing that beverage? Because that just seems stupid. But it is 2025, so who knows? Lots can change in 5 years. The first medical tea is certified by the newly established private pharmaceutical agency, PharmaCert. This follows successful certifications of a range of other foodstuffs. 2026. A survey of young people aged 18 to 25 by a leading global retailer found that forms of chai or tea was the world's most popular beverage. 2027. 50% of the Mao forest in Kenya is chopped down to grow tea. Despite protests that it is an environmentally sensitive area and should be continued to be protected, many view this as the climax of the continued pressure of land in Kenya brought about by a 20% growth in urbanization and almost half of the maize crop being diverted for biofuels. So that's it, It's interesting, the biofuels, because that's meant to be a sustainable endeavor. But then, when you find applications with something like corn. But that's where hemp is a very interesting opportunity for biofuels from a much more sustainable crop than corn. So, pro hemp. Look it up, research it, talk about it. We got to get it going. It's not a drug. It's a sustainable agricultural resource for us, including a food and a tea. See? And a tea. All right, so last of the bad news is from 2028. Almost 150 teas are now medically certified by PharmaCert. Nothing better than a certified pharmaceutical tea. Medically certified tea. Wow. Okay. That's all just marketing. 150 teas. So that's one future that we can look forward to. Here's the second one. 2015, the Kyoto Protocol for the reduction in greenhouse gas emissions is disbanded and no follow-up is agreed. 2019, water access disputes among the India-Pakistan border have led to the deaths of 300 people. Which that didn't happen, but similar things are happening. There's major disputes going on at the borders. I've talked about it before, specifically between India and China. Keep your eye on that. 2020, Indonesia converts its final tea estate from tea to rubber production. Okay, so that definitely is not happening, but it's an interesting thing. So this report was written in 2015 by very skilled economists. And they're making all of these forecasts based off of their research. And they forecasted in 2015 that in 2020, Indonesia would convert its final tea estate from tea to rubber. That is a bold prediction to make. It's not accurate, but that's a very bold prediction that they made. 2022, the cost of water rises in China, the US, and the Middle East. Water rationing is common in many countries, but many feel that the rich can buy their way out of the problem, as usual. 2024. 50 tea estates have closed worldwide, attributing closure to rising price of water and energy. That makes sense. I think it would have been more than just 50 by 2024. I mean, we might see that happen by the end of this year or by the end of next year. And not because of rising costs of water and energy, but just because of rising costs of everything. 2025, barriers to immigrating to the U.S. and most European countries are now so high that the UN Secretary General has declared them virtually closed for immigration. Another solid prediction. Tea shortages escalate prices in many non-producing countries such as those in Europe and North America. U.S. and European tea producers respond by promising to expand tea cultivation for domestic consumption, but these tend to cater to the high-end consumers. The next year, the shortage of tea supply has led to the Indian government to place its third successive ban on tea exports to secure supply for its own domestic consumption. China implemented its first ban on exports this year. So that's something that we actually may see happening sooner than later too, just purely from the pandemic and the supply and demand dynamics that are going on right now. 2027, Uganda's tea exports are now so negligible that it is considered to have exited the tea sector. Global management consultants declare a leading cold beverage brand to be the biggest power in the tea sector in terms of sales and its domination of the tea supply chains. China now officially sells more tea bags than tea leaves. This is in 2029. So we'll have to revisit this in a couple of years and see if that ends up happening. And by 2030, the tea extracts business is now estimated to make up 30% of the world's tea industry. So neither of these futures are looking too good. But let's go on. Green leaf. Green leaf is characterized by good access to capital and strong global sustainability leadership. So this seems like this should be the good one. This should be the good one for us. So let's read this one. 2019, first tea produced in plastic greenhouses. This is used to protect tea plants and soils from heavier monsoon rains and the sun. That might be happening in some places on a very small scale. 2020, deforestation is halted in the Amazon as regional governments declare that net revenues from forests exceed revenues from deforestation. That's this year. I wonder if these are conversations that are had in the government. Looking at the pros and cons of rapid, mindless development in their forests. 2021, the first commercial shipment of tea using a sailing ship in modern times is hailed by the media. I'm going to jump on that one. I don't see anybody else working on that. So it's the first commercial shipment to using a sailing ship in modern times. What does that mean? Like a solar-powered sailing ship? I don't know. I'm going to figure it out. I got a year to figure it out and do it. But I'm going to make sure that this prediction happens. 2022, experimental net positive tea estate launched in Kenya, leading on a healthier way with a wider offer of protein, aquaculture, and refreshment. 2025, Chinese government's investment in climate change, migration, and adoption exceeds military spending for the first time. That's good news. The next year, mechanical harvesting is declared universal in India with the adoption of locally built lightweight machines. You guys want in on this sailing ship in modern times? All right, let's do it. We should band up a whole crew of us to make this happen, and we'll sail around the world and pick up tea. And when they ask us why we're doing it, they're like, you guys are just a small company. Why would you go through all this bother? Because it was predicted, and we were manifesting the future. Oh, man. 2027, first International Tea Conference of New World Growers takes place in South Carolina, U.S. So there's another one. And I want to make sure I'm involved in that, because if it's happening in South Carolina, very risky that it will be co-opted, and we don't want that. 2028, Sri Lanka reports higher revenues from tea tourism than the sale of tea itself. That's good too. You know, that's not bad news, actually. That's good news. And that's it. I mean, it's kind of sad that this was it that these guys could provide for us on, like, the good news. Like, so literally this scenario I just read off is the only positive one. The only one that actually involves, like, soil and, like, you know, people. And that's it. It ends on that. I should like fill in, you know. It looks like it'd be easy to fill in. All right, so the last one is called Rebrewed. Rebrewed is characterized by poor access to capital but strong global sustainability leadership. 2019, extreme droughts in China, Russia, and the US lead to severe global food price spikes. Or pandemic, either one. 2020, Chinese Navy steps in to ensure grain imports are secured after rebels take control of a ship in Pacific waters. Media storm over emergence of food terrorists trying to destabilize countries. That's a pretty detailed prediction. Still a whole half of the year left for that to happen. Rana tea is taken to the European court for brandied product black tea where no trace of tea plant Camellia sinensis is found in packet. The case highlights the scale of counterfeit tea and the challenge of traceability for low-cost tea. So that's in 2022. So that's cool. So maybe there'll be some event that will make everybody realize, oh yeah, this is bad. 2024, Kenya beats Ethiopia in race to become first country meeting energy security by mix of solar and geothermal energy. 2026, over 1 million jobs are estimated to have been lost in the tea industry as a result of increasing costs of labor and increasing adoption of mechanized harvesting. Over 1 million jobs are lost in 2026. That's okay. There's other value to be created, you know, as long as you focus on that, like the idea of losing jobs, you know, even in this time right now, you know, lots of people losing their jobs, and you can dwell on the negative of it or, you know, focus on creating value. 2027, Sri Lanka's tea sector has shrunk by 70% as a result of soaring costs. China and the Far East become the main high-quality exporters of Sri Lanka, exports for Sri Lanka. 2027, the International Tea Conference in Burma focuses on how to react to declining areas planted under tea, as a number of national governments subsidize the planting of food crops to replace tea. Hi, Adam. In 2029, India becomes a net importer of tea for the first time following significant increased domestic consumption and lower levels of production. That's an interesting turn of events, huh? Because like right now, and that other scenario, they were saying that India was going to shut off exports because they were going to exclusively just consume domestically. And now it's saying that it's shift over. And that can be a matter of if the Indian industry cannot be resilient and adaptive enough to compete against the mechanized industries. And it's already happening. That's like Argentina. Argentina is a relatively newer production origin, is almost exclusively mechanized, which makes it extremely competitive in the market. Because, yeah, they can just do it super cheap. So all in all, like all pretty shitty futures. You know, this green one, the green leaf, is okay, but it's still missing. I mean, the last point was 2028. Like, what happens in 2030? Yeah, we've got to make better history. We got to make a better future for this. So yeah, XMOZHX on Twitch if you're still watching. That was your future. Drink good tea. Try to learn these things. I'm going to put this guy here to show you all what this report looks like. On Instagram, you won't be able to see it, but that's okay. That's okay. So this is the report here. I'll show you. Written by the Forum for the Future. I like the graphics here. It's nice. All these teapots making up the world. I like that. So yeah, you can see the table of contents. It's a 30 page report. And most of the report is like documentation, methodology. You know, this is like a scientific, you know, report. So they kind of give you all the methodology. Although there's plenty of graphics and fun little, you know, designs within the report to make it an easy read. And then the scenarios that I read off to you are here on the bottom. And yeah, it's kind of designed as a timeline. It looks pretty cool. But here I wanted to show you the green leaf. And it's like, what? Where's the future? We got to fill this with some good stuff. But yeah, sailing ship. That's the inspiration for the day. That'd be cool. You know, that is my intention is to sail, you know, as I go on to my next steps in life. I wanna sail. So this could be like the good motivation. Just get it going. Just do it. I thought I was gonna get into it once I retired, but I'll get into it now. That's fine. But yeah, that was fun. Got to go over that T2030. Did I share the link? Here, let's see. I did. So on the chats for the streams on the internet, you guys can get all of the articles I shared, as well as the T2030 articles there. Bradley, I can tell you're very excited about this tea sailing boat. That's good, you know, we'll make it happen. I have one, actually. I have a whole container ship. I'll show you, look. Where did that thing go? At last year's World Tea Expo, I asked my brother to make some marketing materials for us. Aw. All right, yeah, let's sail around the world with our tea. Our booty. So yeah, I asked my brother to design something ridiculous and obnoxious for our booth to like grab people's attention. Because last year I was executing a strategy of trying to scale up the business by arranging larger shipments, like 20-ton shipments of like lower grade teas and targeting like the larger scale buyers. And I thought, okay, World Tea Expo could be a good place for us to, you know, start talking with these larger scale buyers about how, you know, we can bring direct trade and transparency to even like the cheap commodity teas. And so this is what my brother came up with. It's pretty cool. The Tealet branded container ship. It's pretty cool. Hi Bessa, good to see you. You can see our container ship. It's awesome. Yeah, it's pretty cool. We also have a Tealet branded airplane. Here, I'll get the bigger one. I know it's obnoxious, but it's Friday. Who cares? Here we go. Can you see it? Oh, I'm totally out of the screen. Here we go. Can you see it? Let's see. You see our airplane here? It's pretty cool, yeah? So yeah, this was like our marketing for World Tea Expo last year. It was great. Oh, like it looks really nice on the Instagram frame. It's not real. It's fake. Photoshop. But we can pretend. But Bradley will make it real. It doesn't have to be Tila branded. That was just some obnoxious thing my brother did. But no, we'll definitely have some good times on that boat though, and we'll fill it up with all the best tea. And other things too, which is great. You know, we could fill it up with some herbs. We could fill it up with some cacao. We could fill it up with some coffee. The plane doesn't show on Facebook. Oh, geez, Donna, I gotta show it. You gotta see it. Jonelle, were you not at World Tea Expo this past year? I thought you were. Let's see. Can you see it? Oh, yeah, you can't see it. Let's see. Maybe you can see it now? Oh, there it is. That's funny. You can see it now. All right. That was fun. All right, guys. We've had a lot of fun. This has been a fun vision board. Yeah. It's a corporate vision board that I said, fuck it. Like, this is us. Like, you know, they say... they say, you know, like, you can manifest by, like, feeling, like, embracing and manifesting the feelings that you would have of that future you want, of that vision that you have. Yeah, so I took my vision board, to the industry. So that's what we're doing. Though they all knew. No one really thought that we had, like, a... Tila branded container ship. But we will, you know. Lots of things incredible are going to happen. Whew. Yeah, I am looking forward to a nice weekend. I hope you guys all have a great weekend too. The weather, I think, is going to be nice. I'm feeling it's going to be nice. Get some sun. Get some exercise. And something else that you guys might care about. I am going to put together my next education series. And just from inspiration of somebody I was talking with the other day, I'm going to be offering some more like professional level education. More than just like the consumer facing education like what I was doing before. So yeah, it should be good. Gonna be a lot, but it'll be great. So yeah, look out for that. And then my matcha cooking class, I'm kind of holding off on that because I don't want, people would need to come here to pick the items up, and I'm trying to be very careful about limiting traffic here. So I might hold off for a little bit until I do that, until I feel the situation's a little bit safer here in Las Vegas, at least, before I launch that. So I haven't been slacking. I mean, I have been, but not. Come on. We're all working hard. We're keeping it up. All right, guys, I'm going to go. I think I've gone over a lot of good stuff, and I appreciate you taking part in this with me. It's been fun. Letting me read an article when I could just send you the link. But you know what's interesting? This experience right here, it's visceral, and it's relevant. So I don't mind reading an article to you. I think it's okay. So until we do it again, Monday I'll be back with more dignified hospitality. I'm looking to step up that program, as well as my constitutional study group. I took like a couple weeks off. I just needed that little tech break. But I'm ready to come back. And then next Friday, Ray is going to be launching a new series. Actually, I think she's already launched it. Yeah, Bradley and Mathelda, you guys were already on her program. So yeah, I'll be helping her next week with that. That should be interesting. Stop being sustainable. Just like we need to stop personalizing, the story of oppression and systemic change. Yeah, think about the systems first.